Welcome back. We are moving into Unit 8 for EDSE 512. And you can see here, Unit 8 is a 2-week-long unit. Our major focus for this unit will be goals, IEP goals, goal writing, the incorporation of SMART goal concepts and components, and our assignment for this 2-week unit is our IEP critique number 2. So you'll see we've got another critique coming up after this, and then we'll be back to the case study, parts 3 and 4, and we'll be wrapping up the course shortly after that. So right now we're just focused on the critique component. We've got 2 weeks to do critique number 2. And you can see this graphic organizer, same information. It is critical, as you'll see highlighted here, that you're able to write these measurable, observable, realistic, attainable, ambitious, and rigorous IEP goals. So take note of those sections as we move through here. Not only will that be essential for your critique assignment, but it also will be essential for your work in case study and for your work in the field. This is a reminder to look ahead at the case study projects. Leave yourself some time, and then if you've got questions or need any help, you can reach out. So you've got all the information included here. One of the most important parts of later, you'll see a SMART IEP goal presentation, which actually is in Prezi format from Dr. Sundin here at UNC. So we'll get to that one and make sure that you're all able to access it, because that will give you some really valuable information on the SMART goals. But this page provides you with a little reminder. IEPs have goals. These are the things that a student should be or will be accomplishing within a set period of time. They must be measurable. But as noted here in the third bullet point, the IEP goals can be a little bit more broad, and they could be broken down into objectives. As noted here in the box, these requirements, the required objectives in the IEP goal typically are only for students who will take alternate assessments. Students with significant needs, support needs programming may be required to have objectives in their IEPs. But as noted here, many states and districts might even still require them or permit them for any student. So just because we are not required to have them doesn't mean that we can't add them. Do remember that as you progress monitor a goal, you will need to progress monitor formally for each objective of that goal. It's important to be aware of what exists in your state and your district regarding objectives and the requirements of you. Again, here is the formula. This is very basic. We'll talk about it more in the critique, but as you can see up top here, when this is provided or given or presented, the student will do this. That's the green thing, whatever skill you're trying to see with red, the measurable level. Typically this is a percentage. You might say 3 out of 5 trials, but you want to see a number. When it comes to the IEP documents and the evidence and data-based decision-making processes and the goal setting, measurable generally refers to a number. We want to see as many numbers as possible in the present levels, as many numbers, percentages, or X out of X, for instance. We need to see as many numbers as possible in the goals. So a comment like the student will do this or that with proficiency, that's not acceptable. We need to know how much, how often, how frequently, how many prompts might be offered, etc. There is a note here too about a 2017 Supreme Court ruling actually related to a district here in Colorado. And this is a reminder that the A in the SMART goal is for attainable, but goals should not be set at a level that is too low just because we're trying to make them attainable. The biggest focus in this case, as it all shook out, was rigor, the importance of rigor and high standards for students with IEPs, regardless of their eligibility, regardless of their programming or their level of support. So, as listed, the IEP should be appropriately ambitious. And then at that point, we need to reasonably calculate what kind of progress is happening, ensure that the progress is on track to meet the goal. If it's not, we need to look at what we're doing and adjust and perhaps revisit the goal as a team. But ultimately, don't use that A in SMART goal for attainable to set the bar too low. There's more information provided to you here for writing measurable IEP goals. Typically, 80% will be generally considered, as you can see highlighted there, minimum percentage that we'll need to see to say mastery. So 100% accuracy might be used when there's a significant safety concern. For instance, we might want to see 90 to 100 for independent toileting. Some of these skills where it really is important to get it right all the time. But in an algebra goal where a student is isolating a variable or solving an equation, 80% might be an appropriate goal to set, dependent upon the baseline. So we always want to be realistic and attainable, yet ambitious. And it takes a lot of consultation, not only in reviewing your own insight on the student, but also with general education teachers, with the family members, with other providers on the service team, on that IEP team, all of the related service providers on that multidisciplinary team can provide insight regarding the goals that you're setting and whether they are attainable yet ambitious. And this is a link to the presentation that I was referencing. So this is a presentation from Dr. Sundin. You can see it right here and click play, or you can go through each slide here as we go. Please do review this. It's very important. We won't go through the whole thing now. As you can see, it's quite lengthy, but you can go through slide by slide and see some really good examples of IEP goal writing, which will help you as you work on your critique. There are resources also provided for students with serious emotional disabilities, goals that are related to behavior, so you can review those. And you'll also see a comment page here regarding the IEP Critique 2 assignment, which again, for this 2-week unit is the major focus. These are really important notes, okay? So again, we got 2 whole weeks to work on this assignment. We want it to be as detailed as possible. So look through these. We need to know how frequently assessment will include. We need to know whether the goal is transferable, as mentioned here with the stranger test, as we've talked about before. Would somebody who doesn't know the student understand exactly what we need to see and what we're looking for and be able to progress monitor for it? So we'll need to use the elements provided in the table for the critique, which we'll click to here in a minute. Again, if the baseline starts over 80%, there's no appropriate argument that an IEP goal should be there. There is a note here as well about extended school year. So extended school year is not summer school, and oftentimes families may be confused about what this means, or even providers and educators may be confused about the need for extended school year. This is really good information, so do take the time to look through it, especially for the CDE manual, which is provided here and linked for you. But, and here's a link for families as well, which is helpful. The main ideas for extended school year provided on this page are that we need to know that the student has significant or severe regression on IEP goals. And we're also examining how long it takes for the student to recoup or recover these goals. So if a student is out of school for a period of time and loses an enormous amount of progress and then struggles greatly to regain that progress, extended school year services may be appropriate. And extended school year scheduling is different from state to state and district to district, particularly with any remote learning closures that might be going on. But oftentimes it's offered for a couple weeks in June and a couple weeks in July based upon the schedule of that school district. Generally, it would be half days, just a few hours for students to have those IEP goals targeted by providers who are present to work with them. And it would be those goals in particular where we have significant concerns about this regression or recovering those skills and being able to demonstrate them again when the student comes back. So not all students with special education services are eligible for extended school year. It would only be with those 2 considerations in mind. And for state and district assessments, remember also this will be included in the IEP. So this is an example of what this might look like for a student who's in Colorado. Again, this is different from state to state. But you'll want to include in the IEP, you'll see a section where it's asking you, will the student participate in this one, this one, this one, this one? And you'll say yes or no, depending on what's appropriate or applicable. So you'll see X's here showing which ones are done in which grade level. Obviously, in the majority of cases, families have the option to opt out. So this would be checked yes, simply to say yes, the student has the opportunity to participate, and then we'll choose the accommodations that are relevant for those assessments. Oftentimes that might be extended time, small group, one-on-one testing, more frequent breaks, testing over multiple days, just dependent upon the needs of the student. And this should line up with the accommodations section in the IEP. If you're not sure if the student will take a test, it's best to just click yes. And then if they don't take it, they don't take it, but the protection is there for you in the IEP. All right, so here we've arrived. Again, the Prezi is linked for the SMART goal. We've arrived at the critique document, so I'll pull that up before we conclude. This is your work for the unit. So we have 2 weeks to do this. You'll see that you're provided with several goals. So you'll highlight yes and you'll highlight no, depending on what is provided to you. And you'll go through for each of these colored boxes and say, is this happening in the goal? And then if it's not, you'll need to go down below and write an improved goal. As a hint, almost all of these can be improved in some way. So please look through that Prezi presentation and look through each of these colored categories and really think about what could be fixed or changed. Don't just take a good enough goal. It's really important not to accept that, but instead to make it an excellent goal and truly a SMART goal. So the antecedent would be when provided by or when this or that happens for the student. So in this example, this one's pretty good, by the way, the first one. When given 2 items or tasks, that's our condition present, so we'd say yes. Nathan, the student, is the name present. We'll choose by reaching, so an operational definition, very descriptive of the behavior, something that you could observe him doing, again, even if you've never met him in your life. The picture that he wants on 4 out of 5 attempts. So what's the criteria? What kind of accuracy are we setting? A percentage or X out of X, for example. Again, we want to see numbers. These are very important in the majority of goals. And then evaluation is what kind of system are going to be used to measure this. So is it by teacher observation, teacher gradebook, percentage of accurate responses in an assessment, and how frequently will that evaluation occur? So is a schedule present? In here, for instance, bi-weekly, and then the evaluation method is suggested for teacher observation. So you would be highlighting yes or no, yes or no. And if necessary, which as I mentioned, it almost always is, you're going to write an improved goal. You can make things up here. Again, you don't know the student. So go ahead and do the best of your ability when you're coming to a guess about what kind of accuracy would be appropriate here. The sky's the limit. You're not going to be graded on that. Instead, you're going to be graded on the structure of your goal. And is it a SMART goal? And does it hit on each of these colored categories in a comprehensive manner? So you'll go through each of those, same thing, same thing. And then down below, this is the cited. And this is quite similar. It's just showing you the IEP structure, how it might look in the document. You'll need to goals that are given to you for this student, Jasim, and you'll need to change anything necessary to fit the criteria that is given to us. Same categories in these boxes. Okay, so similar concept, just a different format, and you can just write your adjusted goal below it. You could highlight it, that might be helpful to show that it's your writing. So that's the main idea. You'll just do those 2 sections, and please do be comprehensive and detailed. Again, we've got 2 full weeks to do this, so really take your time.